The Caitlin Clark injury situation is officially a mess because not only is there not more clarity, there's more confusion about what her timeline could be. And that's coming on the heels of it seeming to be pretty clear when Clark would return to the court, or about when she would return to the court. It was said on the ESPN broadcast on August 12th that Stephanie White hoped Clark would be back in practice this week. Open portion of practice, Clark is not seen. And Stephanie White afterwards said it's status quo until Clark is back at practice.
It looks like Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever tried to cover up Caitlin Clark's injury, and fans aren't buying it. What they called a simple workout accident now looks like something much bigger. Fans have pulled together receipts, timelines, and video that poke big holes in the team story. This isn't just a bad PR move. It's a serious trust issue. White went on TV and gave a polished version of events, but the dates don't match up. And when the timeline doesn't make sense, fans will call it out. In 2025, nothing gets erased. Once the truth is out there, people won't just let it slide. If the team is misleading fans, the same fans who buy tickets, watch games, and spend money on merch, it could even lead to a real investigation. So the question is, do you still trust the Fever when they talk about player injuries? Caitlin Clark first hurt her groin back in mid-July after a hard knee from JCS Sheldon. At the time, the team called it a day-to-day issue and said she'd slowly ramp up practices, aiming to return in late August. All pretty standard. But as that return date got closer, a new story appeared. Suddenly, Clark was said to have suffered another injury, this one during a workout on August 7th. Neat, simple, and easy for PR to spin, except there's a problem. Fans have footage from that same day showing Clark in Phoenix, walking around casually looking fine, and showing no signs of being hurt. Something doesn't add up. Instead of admitting the timeline didn't add up, White and her PR team doubled down. That's when things went from embarrassing to downright insulting. Fever reporters, who should have been focused on facts, went on air laughing as they retold Caitlin's unlucky injury story. Not nervous laughter, real chuckles like it was all a joke. Think about that. The biggest star in women's basketball is hurt. Ratings sink without her, and the people covering it act like it's comedy. Fans weren't just confused, they were angry.
Well, what changed? Right? I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs seem to point in the direction of Clark returning soon. Even Natasha Howard saying, "See you soon, Cece." Now it's like, wait and see. And there's further information coming out that Clark suffered a bit of an ankle injury in the midst of her recovery process. Did that hinder her return? One reporter saying yes, another reporter is saying no. Bottom line is, we need to know a little bit more. We don't need Caitlin Clark's in-depth medical report, but it's fair for fans to wonder if the Fever and the league's biggest star is going to return to the floor this season or what the chances are. And she's been out of action for 5 weeks, so it's not as if some patience hasn't been expressed.
This is why the Fever's credibility is in free fall. Spinning a story is one thing. Teams do it all the time. But flat out lying to your own fan base and smiling while you do it, that's not just dishonest. It's disrespectful. It's basically the franchise saying, "We think you're dumb enough to buy this." Newsflash, fans aren't dumb. Social media receipts don't expire, and the more people piece things together, the worse it looks. And here's the kicker. It feels like they're trying to bury the real incident. Fans haven't forgotten that infamous game where assistant coach Breanne January stepped on Caitlin Clark's foot. That didn't just vanish. It was buried under this workout injury fairy tale. So which is it? Did Clark suffer some freak accident in a private gym? Or was she actually hurt by the very staff that's supposed to protect her? If it's the latter, that's not bad luck. That's negligence. And when negligence gets paired with misleading public statements, it's the kind of thing that sparks investigations. Not just from the league, but also from sponsors and watchdogs who won't tolerate consumer deception. Meanwhile, Clark is stuck in the middle of the Fever's PR machine. Every time she speaks about her recovery, it's the same robotic lines. Working hard, feeling good, just unlucky. Fans know Clark. That's not her voice. That's a script, one that sounds like it was drafted to stop ticket refunds. The timing is too perfect, the messaging too polished, and the authenticity completely gone. And here's what really stings. Clark isn't a rookie anymore. She's in year 2, the most valuable player to the league's survival. And she's earned every bit of spotlight by selling out arenas coast to coast. Yet the Fever treat her like a pawn to shuffle around with lies. If this were the NBA, if a coach injured LeBron James or Steph Curry and then lied about it, there would be investigations, firings, and wall-to-wall ESPN coverage. But in the WNBA, silence. Just reporters smirking along like unpaid interns for the team. The Fever's credibility isn't just dented, it's shredded. And Stephanie White is at the center of it. This isn't just bad optics. It may cross the line into fraud, selling tickets and hyping broadcasts around Clark, while knowingly misleading fans about her condition isn't PR. It's deceptive consumer practice. That's the kind of thing that makes lawyers take notice, that makes sponsors nervous, and that could bring the very investigations the Fever can't afford. And here's the spiciest theory going around. Maybe this wasn't incompetence at all. Maybe it was intentional. Think about it. Clark entered the league like a tidal wave, breaking records and pulling in fans who had never watched the WNBA. Almost immediately, the narrative shifted. She's too skinny. She needs to bulk up. She's not ready. So what happens next? She's pushed into rapid muscle gain. Her body breaks down. And suddenly, her second year is clouded by injuries. That's not coincidence. That's mismanagement. And when you connect the dots, every arrow points back to White and her staff.
Goes on to say fans felt excited when they purchased tickets, believing they'll watch Caitlin Clark shine on the court. However, that excitement turned to disappointment as misleading injuries kept fueling false hopes that she had played the WNBA. And hold up, damn, is they finna get her for line? Is they finna get her for line to the fans? Oh my God, hold up, the WNBA and Indiana Fever Indiana Fever have repeatedly engaged in what seems to be a strategic ploy to drive ticket sales and merchandise sales by suggesting that Caitlin Clark's return was on the horizon. Holy-ish right now, bro. Oh my God, it's about to get red.
And fans are already saying Clark should leave the Fever's medical staff behind and go back to the Iowa doctors she could actually trust. And who can blame them? If the front office is lying about when she got hurt, what else are they hiding? Are they downplaying how serious it is? Are they planning to rush her back just to boost ticket sales? These aren't wild conspiracy theories. They're fair questions when a franchise refuses to give straight answers. The silence is deafening and it screams cover up. Stephanie White really thought she could step up to the podium, smile for the cameras, and spin this workout injury story like fans wouldn't notice. But the more she repeats it, the more cracks show. And every time she doubles down, she burns her own credibility and drags the Fever deeper into scandal. Instead of protecting Caitlin Clark, White has turned her into the centerpiece of a potential investigation. Fever fans are done. They watched Clark take hard fouls, eat elbows, get ignored by refs, and now they're watching her be mishandled by her own team. Imagine being the most hyped women's basketball player in decades, selling out arenas and breaking TV records, only to be lied about when you're hurt. That's not just mismanagement. That's malpractice. And if the Fever keep this up, it won't just backfire. It could trigger an investigation. Here's why the scandal reaches far beyond Indiana. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player. Right now, she is the WNBA. She's the engine driving everything. Ticket sales, ratings, sponsorships, even mainstream coverage. Her games sell out arenas nationwide. Her highlights fuel national broadcasts. Her name keeps corporate money flowing. Take her out of the equation, and the ripple effects are immediate. Attendance drops, ratings sink, and sponsors start looking for the exits. That's why Stephanie White's cover-up isn't just bad PR. It edges dangerously close to consumer fraud. Think about it. If fans are buying tickets under the impression Clark might play, while the Fever already knows she won't, that's false advertising. And that's not speculation. That's the exact kind of deceptive practice that gets lawyers and investigators involved. Let's be real. The timing couldn't look worse. just as Clark was catching fire, pulling the Fever out of irrelevance and sparking league-wide buzz, she's suddenly sidelined with vague, hard-to-believe timeline. The Fever's momentum dies, the team spirals, and the hype disappears. Intentional or not, it feels like sabotage. And instead of staying quiet, White went on camera and spun a fake story, turning a bad situation into a full-blown backlash. Irrelevance and sparking league-wide buzz, she's suddenly sidelined with vague, hard-to-believe timeline. The Fever's momentum dies, the team spirals, and the hype disappears. Intentional or not, it feels like sabotage.
This has been all over the place, and I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about it.